Afternoon, people. I bring you greetings from Antigua, Guatemala. Um, it's Sunday, of course. I'm attempting in so many ways to provide myself structure um, as it relates to live streaming, editing vlogs, even as it comes to or relates to moving around various countries. I've been in Guatemala. What's today? The 19th. So yeah, in the group of countries, I believe it's Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Guatemala. You get 90 days total for those 3 months. And so, for the record, this is Ask Me Anything. If you have any questions about traveling, living overseas, drop it in the chat. I haven't did Ask Me Anything in a good while. And so, yeah, I'm definitely interested to answer any questions you might have. But yeah, 3 months or so you get for Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And so I spent a month in each, give or take. My favorite out of the three is definitely Guatemala. Antigua, Guatemala, and it's what I also loved about Colombia is it's the combination of variables. It's the combination. It's not one particular thing, such as the climate, which is more or less perfect in this region of the world. Um, when you combine high elevation with being equator adjacent, there is no better combination as it relates to climate. Your everyday, like tonight, for example, I'll be sleeping with this huge window wide open. The air is so crisp. It's so crisp. Throughout the day, you're not sweating. You're not constantly, adjusting to the weather, you know, the variables. It being hot 1 second, it being, rainy 1 second. It's quite mild in most cases, which has turned out to be my favorite climate. I used to love the ocean, love the beaches, constantly want to be in hot weather, mainly because growing up in upstate New York and my time in Alaska, you just learn to hate the cold. You learn to hate bad weather, and so of course moving to Florida, thinking that would solve all. I'm like, oh, if I just go to Florida, then it'll just be perfect. And it'll be the perfect weather. Turns out there's better weather than Florida. Medellin, Colombia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Antigua, Colombia, or Antigua, Guatemala, rather. Perfect weather, perfect weather. And so I'm at the point where the beach has kind of lost its new car smell, and I'd much rather spend my time in the mountains. Which I never thought I would say that. I never thought that I would fall in love with the mountains the way I have, and the amount of peace and seclusion and the wind and the rain sparingly. Um, Yeah, it's my favorite climate, and so moving forward in terms of places that I visit and decide to spend any amount of time in, I am definitely using the filter of climate mainly to allow myself to enjoy it because obviously the tourist paths take you pretty much the same well trodden paths throughout countries, and if I wanted to get those same experiences, I would just watch their content. Because just watching content, you tend to benefit and experience the same emotions just by observing someone go through experience. And so, personally, I would much rather take the unpopular path throughout countries and get very authentic experiences to what I value, which is not so much the loud party scenes. Like there's nothing there's nothing like trying to sleep in a party hostel when the last DJ gets up at 3 a.m. Like the last DJ starts at 3 a.m. That experience is you only need about once or twice before you're just fed up with it. You want a hostel or accommodations where it's just silent at night. Um, and of course, it's a rare experience to be living in places where most people are tourists or just there for a couple of days or a week or a couple of weeks. To be in one place for a month, you tend to get a little more picky. And so, places like this, I rented this for the night. Um, Again, it just you learn to value private time because of the contrast of being in party hostels or constantly sleeping in hostels. I spend most of my time in hostels, sleeping in rooms of 8 or rooms of 10 or 30 or 6 or 4. And so to have just get the room by yourself, just peace, quiet. Um, Well, one thing I do miss about going live was the composition part. The amount of time I spent setting up this dusty camera. First of all, just getting just finding a way to connect it using it's called the continuity feature, the continuity camera, where it connects your iPhone directly to your Mac. The amount of time it spent me just doing that alone is unacceptable. And then of course just getting the composition. I'm like, all right, how do I want this? How do I want this to look? And then to not to be too, overly indulged in such a process because there's a part of me that didn't want to go live at all. There's a part of me that did not want to have to deal with, like, is anyone to watch? And it's too much. One of my greatest achievements traveling the world, especially over this past year or so, has been doing things without certainty, doing things without, full confirmation that it'll work. Just kind of doing things imperfectly. And I've talked about this previously, but it's something you have to constantly exercise. And it doesn't always show up, especially in terms of going live and what have you. There's a part of me that just doesn't want to do it at all. But I also feel an obligation to document the way I'm living because not only was it a goal of mine documented on this channel to actually travel the world. Like my first thought was the only way I'll be able to travel is to do it through the Air Force. And if someone's paying me, then I can, like, whenever I get, a couple hours to myself, I can go off base and explore the local area, and of course document and vlogging all these things. You'd be surprised what ambitions fall off once you don't have to do it um, to get where you're trying to go. But there's also a responsibility of like, yo, the people that I used to watch have influenced my life to the point where I started pursuing the same paths that they pursued because I saw the way they were living. I'm like, they're human like me. Like, why can't I do exactly what they're doing? How unrealistic could it actually be if another human has it? If another human's doing it, what makes that unrealistic? That they're not more capable than me. They're not. So being inspired by people and seeing, their ability to move around in certain ways and certain luxuries and certain qualities of life, that's what got me to this point. And so there's a certain level of responsibility I have to, or I feel I have to document, even on the most minute level. Vlogs, the occasional live stream, ask me anything. If people do have questions, if not, then I haven't talked in so long. I feel like I can ramble for just hours, just getting all of this out. But so many updates, so many changes that happen mainly because you don't. It's hard to get perspective or point of reference in my own daily life because it's constantly changing. The people are constantly changing. They're from all around the world. You meet Germans one moment, you meet people from Israel the next moment. Americans, you hear them a mile away. I was debating last night over whether or not the African slave trade was real, and that kind of got a little animated. And I'm like, all right, let me dial this back a little bit. It's too much. It's too much. We can't be showing out in front of the company, in public spaces. But yeah, there's so much turnover. It's such a volatile environment to be in a place where everything's constantly changing. The only thing that doesn't move is the buildings. Everything else is constantly moving. And so one of the benefits of being in such transient environments is the ability to read patterns, even in such chaos. The patterns they still emerge. They still emerge. Certain countries tend to frequent certain hostels, and of course, the way they handle themselves. You kind of learn who's really clean and who just kind of lacks the idea of hygiene hasn't really resonated with a certain populace in certain countries and certain regions of the world. You notice that when you're sleeping amongst them, 10 people in a room, who's dirty. When you watched and hear me, when you've watched people defecate in the shower, whether it be outdoor showers or otherwise, you can't unsee things like that. You can't unsee it. And so it's a crazy experience to be able to live the way I'm living, not only because I prayed for this, but because it changes you. It changes you over time. The amount of, for example, coming home. At some point, you got to come home, right? At some point, you got to let it go. But realizing that I'm overseas, no one around me knows me. Like the first time they meet me, they just assume this bald guy is always bald. I'm like, you just stop caring about so much living in such transient environments in places where no one knows you, your primary language is not spoken as much, you learn to stop caring about so much that you can actually just be yourself. It's peaceful. See, no, ask, are you balding? No, I'm bald. I'm bald now. I'm bald. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. The hairline was playing games and teaming up with the opposition, and so at some point you can only get a one and a half. All right, give me a one and a half. And careful with the hairline. At some point, you just come home, and it's peaceful. At this point, it's so peaceful. Luckily, I'm black as well. Luckily, I'm black, so little Kobe coming home, session is necessary at times. And honestly, it's first of all, it's cheaper haircuts, way more easier, or the ability to explain the haircut is it's simple, settle, settle. And so, yeah, there's a lot of changes that happen to you, especially while overseas, because the inability to care, but also realizing that all the opinions around you are different languages. You can't understand them to begin with. And so when you wake up every single morning and ask, Ray, what do you want to do today? Where do you want to go? Like, not just in this country, but like, where do you want to go? Which country, which city? Not only is it a privilege, but it's a burden of sorts where you have so many other things to worry about. And like, you might meet somebody that speaks English occasionally. Like last night, some people from the States, you meet sisters, mind you. And so even that's rare, just coming across your own people. And so, yeah, it's definitely been an interesting transition of just being in foreign environments, especially that this amount of time. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I used to talk about this stuff. Also, and I will say this: the amount of time that I've spent studying other streamers and like just other content creators, it's taken a lot of pressure off of me. Again, because you just stop caring about so many things that you start realizing live streaming doesn't have to be hard, bro. Like, when I tell you I overthink so many things when it comes to just, is anyone gonna like, obviously, you got the low self-esteem streamers who I'm like, "Is anyone gonna care?" And then also, will I have anything to say when I get there? Um, it's ongoing, but, when I tell you anxiety, insecurity, low self-esteem, it's like permanent. It's like permanent in a lot of ways where you would think it just goes away one day. Like, if I have enough money, if I have enough stature, enough fame, uh, you know, enough achievements and not enough stuff, then all these soft, tissue injuries, such as the ones that you might use to describe your mind or your personality, then they'll just upgrade on it doesn't work at all like that at all. You think if you have more money, your problems just go away. No, you get a completely new set of problems that you didn't know existed because you're just leveling up in the game. The hedonic treadmill will constantly keep you in perfect tension between chaos and order, and that there's no point where you just get to a place of order and it's just peaceful and it's pure efficiency. When I tell you efficiency is poison in high dosages, if you have too much efficiency, it takes away from your humanity. It directly takes away from your human experience if your life is too efficient. Trust me. I, but I could talk hours about how I have to proactively reintroduce friction into my life when it comes to just humans. Because to get any level of intimacy, and I'm not talking about like physical intimacy, but like a conversation that holds any amount of weight, you have to be inefficient. You can't be efficient, constantly moving around. All right, I'm gonna spend 48 hours in this city. I have a whole itinerary set starting at 6 a.m., which includes the gym, includes my walking around the city, a tour, a hike. And you just like when people are vacationing, they're on itineraries because they're on deadlines. They're going back to work next week. Whereas in my life, it's already efficient enough. I'm a minimalist, like down to a single bag, like barely carrying anything around. Same outfit, same t. This is my only black T-shirt because long story. I threw up on my other two T-shirts. Long story, which if you're curious about that, I do have time. Um, but yeah, it's it's so interesting every single day. It's so interesting to be around strangers constantly from around the world. You think you have rules in your head of how things work and how things should work, and then you get to an environment where it's just pure chaos, and it still somehow functions. It's crazy. crazy. Who got this chat, man? Mystery man down here, my guy. Yeah, I just got my 100% disability at 23. I'm not sure what to do now. My guy, there's several. There's actually another youngin. I've been low key mentoring. He's been doing the work himself. He just, sometimes you need a little course correction. Like you don't need somebody to kind of hold your hand and tell you and teach you how to do everything. Sometimes you just need a course correction, someone who has different perspective. When it comes to 100%, same thing I told him. And I think my last live stream was around this topic as far as anything you mismanage, you will lose. Um, One of life's greatest privileges in 2026 is being veterans, disabled. Um, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a privilege. All the words, but you still have to manage it. Um, when I tell people to study Bitcoin, especially overseas, I always have to caveat with like, I know this sounds like a scam. I'm well aware that you don't have the context of hours and hours of watching Michael Saylor podcast to understand that what I'm telling you is the world's greatest opportunity to humans, because it's around money. It's not a certain country's money. It's about the nature of money and how Bitcoin is hard money, meaning the hardness of a money describes how difficult or how easy it is to replace with more, essentially. Hard money has to retain its value to hence why in most cases your money is either appreciating or depreciating, or your assets are either appreciating or depreciating, but there's usually no in between. There's no neutral asset where it just sits at its same value and never changes. It doesn't exist. And so I always tell people, study Bitcoin. I tell the smart and the ambitious people, buy Bitcoin and then study it. I'm pretty sure we've got a nice little MSTR is what I'm long in heavily. They went up 11.6%. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Made a couple $100, no work included. You own a scarce, desirable asset that it correlates to Bitcoin, but outperforms Bitcoin. Anything, it's the whole thing. But yeah, at 23 years old with 100% disability, you should be studying and seeking wisdom in all your free time, in all of your free time, because you have the ultimate recipe for ruining your life now. And especially as young men, there's enough temptation. There's gambling ads on literally every app, every commercial, every swipe. They're putting it right in front of you. Even the pranks and the public demonstration, the social experiments, they have the gambling built in. Like the guy, he's gambling on camera while the whole prank is taking place, just so they can get that in the feed. Just get it in front of them. Just get it in front of them. Plant the seed so the kids can see it. But it's not just the kids; it's the grown adult males who are treating gambling, who are treating chance as hope, like it's their way out. And most people, meaning a minimum of 6 out of 10 people, are going to lose everything. A minimum, because it's designed that way. So yeah, 23 years old, you already got enough temptation on your plate. Your testosterone may or may not be spiking. Your sexual desire. Yeah, it's normal. It's normal. Um, what happens when you pour money on top of all of that? When you have all the hormones and it may or may not be easy to regulate your own emotions and your own hormones, and you know porn is everywhere, and social media, it's glorified, it's commercialized, it's commoditized to have sex everywhere. Sex, gambling, drugs. Well, I'm telling you, it's everywhere. That's intentional. It's intentional. Especially the idea of porn. Anything that is man-made and unlimited is poison to humans. Anything that is man-made and free and unlimited, it's poison to humans. Porn is number one on that list. It's not a long list, but yeah, it's number one in terms of why would this exist? Why is it free and unlimited? Why? Why is it free and unlimited? Why is there no limit to my imagination when it comes to the various genres that exist in this category of content. It's not good for you. You're the product. You're not consuming the product. You are the product. And so just being aware of all the traps that are being laid and set every couple of feet, there's something. And trust me, overseas, I have plenty of temptation every single day. Every single day. There's something. And I have my vices, mind you. I have my vices, but I can participate in everything. Every time if I ingested cocaine or ecstasy or MMDA every time it was offered to me while overseas, I'd be a drug addict right now. And technically, I am a drug addict, but of a different sort. Like Tylenol, I don't know anyone who's addicted to Tylenol. It's a drug. People know when to use it. It solves a problem. It's usually kind of just you take it once every couple months or so, and then you're good. There's some drugs you take once, and you're never not going to take it again. Like it just follows you. It follows you. It goes with you. Weed is somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. And I thoroughly enjoy weed. Thoroughly. But I understand how it's truly addictive. It's truly addicting because it solves the actual problem. The way that you'll be addicted to a drug is the second you like it. Drugs are it's as simple as that. You're addicted to a drug the moment you realize I like this sensation. Is why it's dangerous to try things. And so, yeah, 23 years old, man, 100% disability. I know you're making close to 4 G's a month, depending on your dependents and all that. That's good bread. It's good bread. Um, what you have right now is the opportunity to make, which a lot of people say it doesn't exist, a perpetual motion machine. Perpetual motion machine. It's where the second you start a process or mechanism, it continues on its own without losing energy. Which, of course, that violates one of the first three laws of thermodynamics. Um, it's not possible unless you have technologies available to you and you can implement levels of efficiency such as what you have right now, which is a guaranteed check, more or less, because it's the U.S. government. It's probably the most guaranteed check you could possibly get in today's world is a check from the U.S. government. Um, Making sure that you're automating your investments from that money, not spending it all. Because trust me, you get back pay from the government. Your first inclination is, all right, let me pay all my bills and let me get up. Let me go buy myself some stuff. Let me go fill the freezer, all these things. Just slow down. There's no right or wrong answer, but it comes down to math ultimately, where you realize, am I getting return on investment on something that I didn't have to work for? Which means I should probably most of this can be invested because if it's guaranteed on any level, it's only upside. Like there's no loss. Now, be careful applying that to gambling. Make sure you're actually investing. Meaning, my definition of investing is what dead people do. They buy something and they never touch it again. No one in today's market is outperforming dead people. Dead people, they have the best investment accounts, the most alpha, the most gain, the most return on investment for the simple fact that they just don't touch it. They just buy it and never sell it. I'm doing the same thing with Bitcoin, Bitcoin, derivatives. It's just buying and holding. Just buy and hold. I'm thinking about getting into Tesla as well. I'm just going to buy it, and I'm just never going to sell it. I'm just never going to sell it because those who try to time the market, it's just like it's like trying to time the return of Jesus Christ. You can't do it. You can't know with any amount of certainty. And if you could, a computer is probably already doing it, which means you're competing with machines that are outthinking you thousands, if not millions of times a second. It's not smart. It's not wise. The simplest investing strategy is usually the best. Buy something of value that will hold and retain its value, if not increasing in value over time, that you don't have to think about, you don't have to touch, you don't got to, it's not CEO related. Bitcoin's a protocol. And so I would strongly encourage you to take many hours of your day that you're probably going to have freed up now, being that you don't have to work. And I would invest a lot of time into studying the changing market. Now, I'm not telling you to go buy individual stocks and like start looking into, all right, so this has, dividends, all that. Trust me, Study, study Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what all the billionaires and millionaires and all the banks and all the Federal Reserves are trying to buy up right now. There's a reason why it's not popular. There's ignorance surrounding it where people just don't know. Then there's also the fact that a lot of people just don't need it, especially if you're American. If you have a bank account, if you have dollars, you probably don't need Bitcoin. But I'm traveling third world countries where I see people using Bitcoin as their bank accounts. An Uber driver in El Salvador, he pulled up his phone. He has a little thing. He has Sats on there. I'm like, ooh, what? There's a lot of countries where it's actually quite popular. Like El Salvador being the main one, it's quite popular with Bitcoin as far as its usage and its necessity. But in terms of a lot of people will get there late. Everyone's going to buy Bitcoin eventually. Everyone will buy Bitcoin eventually. The question is at what price, which is the main point. Like to be early, to be early. Wisdom is all the shortcuts. Like if you want a shortcut in today's world, it's found in wisdom, and it's the only shortcut that you won't regret because all the rest of them wait for you in terms of shortcuts. So, um, yeah, hope that provides a little insight into how I think about managing. Because again, it's all about management. Crisis is the result of mismanagement. You're 23 years old. You have your whole entire life ahead of you. You have a guaranteed check for the most part, as long as the U.S. government stands on some level and still has, the number one air forces and armies and navies and marines. As long as we have certain structures in place, it's a guaranteed check until you die. Which means if you could properly get this snowball rolling in terms of compound interest, in terms of owning something of scarce and desirable value that someone else will want to buy from you in the future, if you can manage this time, the next 10 years, 20 years, if you can just manage your investments, buying something that is going to be valuable 10, 20 years from now, and don't touch it. Don't try to trade the market. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to like trading options and all this. I'm telling you, people make money off stuff. There are plenty of people making money off options and options trading, but more people are losing. It's the same with gambling. Of course, I can find one or two people who are actually winning their bets and the straight bets and their parlays, what have you. Most people are funding those wins. The rest of the people are funding those wins. And so, yeah, it's imperative at 23 that you realize your money is not it's not just a dollar amount. It's energy. Every time you get a check from the U.S. government, it's energy. And so that energy needs to be transformed into a different form of energy, hopefully increasing it more and creating more energy. Otherwise, regret follows. Regret follows. There are plenty of people making six figures a month, six figures a year, seven figures a year, living paycheck to paycheck. They're on Dave Ramsey every single day. I know a lot of people don't like Dave Ramsey because, don't buy anything with debt ever. Don't use credit cards, don't get loans, pay cash for everything. I'm like, well, for the beginner, that's probably good advice. It's probably wisdom the average mind as it relates to money. But when it comes to actually trying to retire your family and your generations beyond you, yeah, a lot of people use debt to fund buying their assets. I'm not saying you should do that because obviously that financial engineering requires a little bit of foresight, a little bit of wisdom, well, quite a bit actually. But yeah, you want to be aware of the systems that you're kind of poking at when it comes to financial engineering. Um, Stretch, STRC. Again, I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm telling you to go study it. Go study it. There's mixed opinions about it everywhere. I saw a video by what's his name, CoffeeZilla, on his secondary channel, and it was more or less like a kind of a hit piece a little bit. There's skepticism surrounding, can you really make a perfect financial product? A credit-based product that pays someone 11%, you know, yearly, paid out monthly or semi-monthly. Is that possible to really financially engineer the perfect financial product? What's going on, Killer Cam? Is that possible? Or is it a scam? I'm like, well, everything's a scam to people who have no wisdom, people that can't discern. Everything's a scam to them. They miss out on every opportunity because they just assume everybody's out to get them. All right, well, that's a choice. That's a choice. I'd rather you study something and just decide, all right, the jury's still out. I can't seem to wrap my head around this. Doesn't make sense to me. It's not for me. And then move on. You'll have closure. I mean, you can circle back later or not at all. But the people that never study anything because it's not entertaining, I'm like, that's the point of information, is that it's not entertaining. It's raw data that when you apply it wisely, it benefits you. It's not going to be entertaining information. It's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. The information that you most need is not going to be entertaining. Just like the meals that you most need and the nutrients and the macros that you most need. The, it's probably not pizza and ice cream and what have you. It's unfortunate. That's some other questions down here. But yeah, manage, man. Manage the privilege that you have. Everyone has an advantage on some level. The question is, will you take advantage of it? And will you regret it later? And like realizing in hindsight, I had one of the greatest opportunities a human could possibly have on this planet, and I mismanaged it. You see this with NBA players, NFL players going broke the second that the check, stops. Mismanagement. Jay Ray says, on a real note, I'm 25 as of yesterday and a staff sergeant. Congratulations, my guy. Still first term airman, been in almost 7 years. Is 20 years for retirement worth it? I don't think it is. And if you asked me this when I was in the military, I would have probably given you a different answer. Um, but I don't think 20 years is worth it, personally. Mainly because wisdom, again, it's a shortcut. Wisdom is a shortcut. If I had managed to invest 10% of my income my entire career, which was only 6 years, the position I will be right now, especially if I had bought Bitcoin back in 2017, 2016, 28, whenever, anytime in my career, if I had bought Bitcoin, I'll be in a much different position financially than I am now. The difference is right now I have wisdom, and I still have Bitcoin, but I have wisdom to know not to sell it. I have wisdom to know don't touch it. Don't try to trade it. Don't attach no options. Don't try to arbitrage nothing. Don't do nothing. You own something that's scarce and valuable. Don't touch it. And so with the wisdom I have now, I understand that the military as a whole, it's a career field for those who want and actually may or may not actually enjoy the process of being in the military. But if you don't want to be in the Air Force, you don't want to be in the military, there's so many ways out in terms of and in terms of making more money. It's always something that you actually enjoy. Um, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy at all. Like the Air Force was easy in terms of it's a linear environment, more or less, where if you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. And then if you're in this amount of time, we're going to pay you a little bit more. If you get promoted, we're going to pay you this amount. We're going to pay you based on your zip code and your dependents, what have you. It's easier than getting out the mud and figuring out how you're going to do it yourself and how you're going to invest and what do you invest in. And again, I'm not trying to sell y'all nothing. I constantly have to reiterate this because I can hear the thoughts in my own head. I'm like, man, maybe I'm just projecting, but I'm like, no, I have nothing to sell y'all. I have nothing to sell y'all. Nothing. I have no courses, no links. Click this link and buy Bitcoin, and then send me like 2 Bitcoin, and no, we're not doing none of that. What I'm trying to give you is wisdom, just raw information that if you apply it, after you research it, don't take my word for it. I'm just a guy talking to a camera. After you research it, after you've done some digging, like maybe 100 hours of studying, focused on Bitcoin, just 100 hours. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you can wake up every single day. You don't have to do anything. Um, it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice. And so, yeah, retirement, it's what's preached by America that you're going to work 65, 70 years, 70, 75, 80 years, 85 or 90 years. You're going to work. You're going to work for a diminishing currency, a currency that's actively and proactively uh, being inflated in value or in quantity, rather. Therefore, its value is being decreased. It's slavery. It's slavery. The question is, how do I get out of this system? The system is quite simple. And again, being around in various countries and experiencing the purchasing power, you start realizing that most things are attached to the currency. Most problems in a given society are attached to the money, the currency. My mind is beautiful when it comes to just what is the common theme of all these different problems? If we were just take all every problem that exists on planet Earth and reduce it down, especially into the current time zone, the current timestamp, what is the main issue with humanity? It's the money. It's the money. It's always been the money. You can say it's land, it's assets, it's money. It's how do we denominate energy in abstract form? If I want to provide value to them and they want to provide value to me, and we're not actively trading plots of land or whole donkeys, like if I just need a haircut, am I going to give them a fraction of a cow? If you're a butcher, possibly. How do I exchange energy with someone and then not lose value? These rocks are going to lose value if we have more rocks. Like sand can never be a currency because there's too much of it. It's not rare enough. It's not valuable enough in and of itself because there's too much of it. Scarcity has to be involved in anything that's considered valuable. It can't be everywhere and be valuable. No, air and water, granted, granted, but those are commodities, assets without issuers, and so their value simply relies on their availability. If you're in a desert, water is priced at $1,000 a bottle. If you're in the air, a bottle of water is $11. If you're in the middle of a random town, if you got Dollar General, it's $1.50, $2. So yeah, I strongly encourage anyone. I talked to a young lady in Nicaragua. I brought her to my favorite, coffee shop, one of the dockside. Shout out dockside in San Juan de Sur, Nicaragua. Yeah, 19 years old. I'm like, listen, this could be a vacation for you, or this could be a lifestyle. It depends on your decision making. It has nothing to do with your income. It has to do with what you do with it, your overhead, your experience, your expenses. When I tell you this room I'm staying in right now is $50 a night. It's one of the cheap. Well, it's hard to measure cheap in a place where a hostel is $6 a night, $7 a night. You can live anywhere in between a $6 hostel per night all the way up to and I've actually looked at it. I think the most expensive accommodation on Booking is like $600 in Antigua, Colombia, or Antigua, Guatemala, rather. $600 like the max that you'll pay for like some accommodations around here. Um, that's a crazy range. You go to the U.S., it probably starts at 100 and goes up to 10,000. Who knows? Who knows? And so, yeah, it still takes wisdom to understand I can't just spend money because I have it. And some people, including myself, we had to learn the hard way of how am I going to manage the energy that I have? Because when I exchange my energy for money, I'm exchanging my energy for energy. Money it represents my energy. So when I take that money, every time I go spend anything, I have to think about where's this energy going? How am I allocating this energy? Is it giving me a return on investment? Is this going to be worth more energy? Or do I have to work even harder in the future? No. So yeah, you have a great opportunity right here at 23 years old, 25 years old, 20 years. If that's what you enjoy doing, if that's what you want to do, if you're not unhappy with what you're doing, yeah, you can spend the whole 20 years investing 10, 20% of your income. By the time you actually hit the 20-year mark, you might be enjoying yourself because obviously, as you increase in rank, your duties and your responsibilities change. So you might switch from process, like your day might be process oriented for the first part of your career, and at the second half or the halfway point of your career, it might be people oriented where you're managing people and personalities and issues and problems and paperwork rather than process and mechanism. And so your workload might decrease. It may decrease or change form over time where you might actually start or continue enjoying your career in the military. And so yeah, be patient. Be patient. The better decisions you make today and now, the more options you'll have later. The day, and hear me, the day you experience the paradox of choice where you have too many good options, you know you did something right. Now, the paradox of choice is crippling. It's quite crippling in nature when it happens to you. When you have too many good options and you don't know where to start and what to choose, you have to start applying filters. You have to be picky. You have to be more, specified in what you desire. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to encounter the paradox of choice. Um, but yeah, 25 years old, man. If I were you, I wouldn't change much until unless you're just unhappy. Just keep going, keep going. The time's gonna pass either way. The time is gonna pass either way. Not everyone gets VA disability. Not everyone, has problems, has any issues medically or otherwise, and so it's not a guarantee that I know a lot of people that have served and experienced worse than I have in terms of experiences, what have you, and that they're getting less disability or none at all. I'm not a doctor. I don't make the rules. I don't know. It's just something to be aware of that 20 years might be the best thing that ever happens to you, or you might suffer the whole 20 years trying to get that retirement. I don't know. I don't know, man. Mystery Man says, "Do you ever feel the urge to work again due to having excess free time?" Yes, yes, it's the truest answer. Mainly because 24 hours is a long time. It's a long time, and again, I am quite aware of the fact that if someone works for a living, someone who works 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, whatever, if you hear someone saying, "All right, this guy doesn't work at all, and he misses working," it sounds tone deaf. It sounds crazy, but it's true. It's true. And it's not the work itself, it's you need a purpose. You need something. And I have found purpose in what I'm doing now. It took some turbulence and some figuring it out, but you do eventually find something to do with your time, which is why you follow your curiosity, not discipline. Because for the longest in the Air Force, I was constantly just focused on discipline, motivation, discipline, quality decisions, discipline. In this current phase of my life, I have to switch from discipline to curiosity. What am I curious about? What do I want to know more about? What do I want to study? What do I want to spend hours of my day trying to figure out, trying to learn, trying to develop? Because your mind, I promise you, there are levels of depression I didn't know existed, but they are there. And they're waiting for people who have idle minds. They're waiting for people who don't move, who don't act, who don't try, who don't adventure out and experiment. Your curiosity is free energy. It's free energy. If you're curious about something, you will study it for hours, days, weeks in a row, and you will never get bored. And you will have to force yourself to go to bed at night because you're addicted. You're addicted. Um, and of course, not everyone has my mind. Not everyone has my inclination to study and kind of force indulge in given topics. It's not for everyone. But yeah, in 24 hours, you will eventually, if you sit some if you sit somewhere long enough, if you're bored enough, you will eventually figure out what you want to do because your mind will be grasping. Your mind will be begging, please give me something stimulating, which is why a lot of people turn to drugs. A lot of rich people who have too much time on their hands, that's why they turn to drugs. It's why I smoke, not only because it solves a problem physiologically, it feels good, but also enhances my life on a level where I want to be curious about things because I have the energy. And so when I tell people everything is energy manipulation, I mean that literally. I also mean that abstractly, but I mean that literally. Everything in your life is based on energy. From the amount of sleep you get, which determines how much energy you wake up with, which determines how you perform throughout your day, which determines how you interact with people because your nervous system is purely based on whether or not it's are you regulated when you interact with people, when you have problems throughout that you encounter throughout a day. Your nervous system needs to be regulated enough that you don't punch somebody in the face the first time someone looks at you a certain way or says something to you, your nervous system needs to be regulated, which means your sleep needs to be regulated, your foods, your nutrients, your hydration, your electrolytes need to be regulated. Because if they're not, the way you interact with the world is going to be purely based on your inputs. And so I will also say this, as it relates to the boredom piece and the you ever feel like you want to work again or just work at all. So you will begin working. One thing I don't I realized it and I remembered this both. Um, Training your mind like AI. It's such a beautiful realization if you study AI at all. If you study how large language models are trained, and you don't even have to go into too much depth. You just realize it's based on the training data. The large language model spits out the output based on the training data that it trained upon. Whatever data it trained upon, that's what it's basing all its answers off of. That's why you need more and more training data and sometimes synthetic training data, just so you can get the most variables possible to influence your output. So you're being as objective as possible. What I realized is that humans work the same way. If you look at anyone walking, and again, I do this with strangers from various countries, and so my data is just crazy abstract and wild. But you realize humans, their experience of this world, their personality, their mind, how they operate, how they speak, how they think, it's all based on the training data that started obviously as a child. You have the sponge like phase where you're just taking in all data. Like you don't really have you're not making sense of you're not providing inference upon it yet. You're not trying to connect correlations and find how all the dots connect. You're just taking in all the data. And that may or may not end around 7, 8 years old. But after that, you start doing inference and you start putting together, all right, so inconsistencies. My mom said, don't do that, but she's doing it. My dad said, don't smoke, but I saw him around the corners, smoking a cigarette. You start putting together all the data that you've been collecting over the years. All those inputs form your personality. You don't have anything else to pull from. All your experiences, your past, your emotional spikes, your hormone spikes, the pain, the happiness, the excitement, the surprises, the Christmas on your eighth birthday, all those all that data has formed you today. When I tell you, and again, it's much deeper than makes it so simple. I don't know. When I tell you, so you guys know, I used to keep when I first started the channel. I used to keep all my virtual mentors. Which, again, start thinking about what stuff you used to do. I used to keep all my virtual mentors pinned in the description. So pretty much anyone I used to listen to, anyone I used to watch, anybody I was obsessed with online, I would put their name, in about a name because I want other people to have exposure as well. But I realized all those people impacted me on levels I didn't really realize until now. Eric Thomas, he's how I got in the Air Force. I would listen to him all day long. And I realized my actions were directly correlated to what I was consuming the most, which was Eric Thomas' voice. The voice I listened to the most in the Air Force was Gary Vee. Hence, I started making all this content. I didn't start. When I tell you, I can listen to a Michael Saylor interview about Bitcoin. It's about 3 hours long. He's very long winded, very long winded, even between questions. He's one of the most long winded question answerer you ever encounter. So, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin in today's market? And he'll go on for about 15 minutes nonstop. It's kind of like me a little bit, which is probably why I'm drawn to him. But every time I watch his interviews, I end up buying more Bitcoin without fail. Whatever I listen to determines what I end up doing. The Bible says faith comes by hearing. Your life right now is determined on who you listen to the most. The most. Who sits in that number one position? Who is the number one person I am consuming on a daily, hourly basis? When I was in the Air Force, Dr. Miles Monroe. Before I joined the Air Force, Dr. Mike Murdoch. You start putting pieces together. I'm not obsessed about wisdom by chance. I kept consuming people who taught wisdom. That's what informed who I am currently is the inputs. The the consumption has informed who I am right now. Who do I listen to now? Same people, wisdom. Hasn't changed that much. Michael Saylor, in terms of Bitcoin. Um, One thing I have changed is this is a crazy strategy. I promise I will get to the chat because I'm grateful for the 6 people watching. I'm grateful to anyone leaving a question. Again, just ask me anything. If you have any questions about anything, traveling, Air Force, drop in the chat. I got you. But yeah, when it comes to training your mind, it's if you let me slow down. Whatever problem you have currently in your life, and I mean everything I'm about to say literally, whatever problem you currently have in your life, I want you to go to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever your favorite platform is for scrolling, the one you scroll the most. You're gonna type in that topic, that the topic, whatever problem that is. If it's gambling, you're gonna type in sports gambling. If it's fitness, you're gonna type in fitness motivation, physique, whatever. Um, if it's eating healthy, whatever it is, if it's fashion, if you're trying to have a glow up, whatever it is, you're gonna type that topic into your favorite social media platform, and the only thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go through all the profiles that pop up, or like start swiping and just kind of see who pops up. Anyone who pops up that you're attracted to, anyone that pops up that is your type, you're just gonna follow them. If they're teaching the topic that you want to learn or the behavior that you want to adopt, and if you're attracted to them, like they're your type, follow them. The reasoning is simple. It's the same reason why in the semen retention community, they talk about harnessing that energy, that sexual energy that you have, instead of masturbating or instead of just getting rid of it, having sex with random people. That energy, that it's just energy that you feel. Being horny is it's just energy. You're taking that same energy when it applies to social media, and you're activating energy when you see someone that is your type, that you're attracted to. Even more so, they're talking about something that you need to learn, that you wanted to learn, that you're trying to retain, a behavior that you're trying to adopt. You're going to watch them that much more for the simple reason that you're attracted to them. But secondarily, the passive income, the passive consumption of what they're talking about. I do this with Spanish. All I do is just type in learn Spanish into Instagram or TikTok. And then whoever pops up, if I'm attracted to them, instant follow. Now I have so much more Spanish teachers available to me, to where even passively, if I just scroll past them, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna slow down a little bit just looking at them because they're attractive and they're my type, which means I'm gonna gain a little bit of Spanish learning, even in that split second, that 1 second. It adds up, it compounds over time. It's a compound effect, just applying that to things you're already doing, how to make things that I already do productive. How do I make learning passive where I'm constantly accumulating information without actively trying to learn something? It works with mathematics, it works with engineering, it works for saving your money. It works with any topic that you can find someone teaching that on social media, which nowadays I can't think of any topic that's not being taught online by anyone. But in any language, in any country, you can find a creator teaching anything. And then you just find one that you're attracted to, and you just fill your algorithm with people that you're attracted to, teaching things that you want to learn about. When I tell you the information compounds so quickly, you don't even realize. When I tell you I have conversations in Spanish and they're becoming easier and easier, eavesdropping, you don't even realize you're eavesdropping. You just hear a conversation in the back of your head, and you're listening to the conversation and you're just picking it apart. I'm like, my Spanish is getting better, and I'm not trying to learn more Spanish. It just happens that way. You start listening to Bitcoin content, you will eventually want to buy Bitcoin. And it happens to apply to anything, things that are bad for you. If you start consuming things that are bad for you consistently, your life tends to drift towards that. So I want to get that off my chest. The interesting thing about live streaming is that you just get to let all this weeks of twirling of just thoughts and stuff out. I just let me get it out of my system, man. So I can go back to a clean slate and think about nothing, as it were. In rent. What else we got in here, man? So yeah, that was a long-winded question to or answer rather. To do I think about working again? No, because I'm curious now. The idea of working for another person, no. Um, I work for myself, and I am developing plans currently. Um, like today, I was coding Joe. Joe And then for those of you who don't know, Joe is my personal assistant. He's AI. Um, but I built him myself using frontier models, mostly Gemini Flash. You would think that Gemini Pro, like the most expensive model, the best model supposedly from Google, would be their best coding model. It's not. It's Flash. Claude is the best coding model. Um, but yeah, if I can't use Claude, and Claude is expensive, like they only give you like a couple of prompts a day, through anti gravity, which is a CLI that use your laptop to code things. And again, if you're not experimenting with AI, I don't know what to tell you. Be curious. Be curious. It's fun. It's fun. A lot of people are scared of it. A lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people don't like it because it's replacing job. If you can just learn how the stuff works, I've replaced 3 of my own apps with Joe just by just experimenting. I'm like, I need my reminders, which is just my quotes. If you look at my Twitter, my ex, most of my quotes are there. But I have my own. I have like 1,000. I think I'm at 1,200 quotes, 1,200 reminders right now that are just daily. It's my own. It's my art. It's my own artificial nervous system where you can't always control your thoughts. So I try to introduce my own thoughts that I want to have, which is my reminders. I get one every 3 minutes, max 20 an hour, which yeah, it's about three, three one every 3 minutes. Um, but yeah, it's about 1,200 reminders I have currently. I send a reminder to Telegram or using Telegram. I send a reminder to Joe, and Joe automatically saves it and then schedules it for reminderization. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It constantly keeps your mind thinking about what you want to think about. You have to control your mind, especially when you're constantly alone, when you're in random countries around strangers. No one knows you. No one's holding you accountable. Nobody's watching you. No one. It's freedom, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. When I tell you, it is so dangerous to have an idle mind with nothing to do, with money in your pocket. It's the ultimate recipe to destroy your life. Is have access, temptation, and boredom. What? No, it's dangerous. What other questions we got down here? 5 people in the chat. What? What are y'all doing, man? Killer Cam says, "Hola." Interesting rhetoric. Makes sense. Killer Cam says, "Old age hits worse for retirees than for old people who still at least have a part-time job to keep their mind working." Your mind's going to work for someone. You don't really have a choice in that way. Your mind's gonna work for someone, so you might as well be curious enough to find something to do with it. Um, and again, it is a privilege to be bored and to have nothing to do all day long. Like, what a privilege it is in 2026, where slavery's still legal. It's called work. It's called fiat currency. Slavery's still legal. It never stopped. It became inclusive. It included everyone else. I'm like, oh, no, no, white women, no, no, we have need of you. Please, please, all hands on deck. Join us in the fight. No. And of course, now they're trying to use AI to replace humans because they still want slavery, but they're starting to realize if we keep printing money, we can't keep hiring people at $120,000 a year, $200,000 a year to do what a robot can do 24 hours a day in a dark room and won't complain, doesn't need time off, doesn't have PTA meetings, doesn't get sick. It's just a code fix, call engineering, firmware update, something, push something. No, it's much cheaper to hire a slab of metal and some pneumatics and a couple engineers just to manage a fleet. In a dark factory, no lights on, you don't need no bathroom breaks. There's no lunch. You don't got to worry about it. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, working. That's what they want slavery. The slavery has never gone anywhere. It was just black people for a while, and even before black people, there was slavery. Like we're the latest, but not really because there's slavery even now. Like even worse slavery than capitalism. There's slavery in Pakistan. There's slavery in the UAE. There's slavery, like real slavery. So yeah, what a privilege it is to not have to work. What a responsibility that is. Responsibility. I'm like, yeah, you should do something with that, which is why I'm trying to pump the blogs out and like again, giving myself structure. I'm like, Ray, I know you don't have to do anything, but you need to do something. You need to. You need to do something. You don't know discipline until you have to make yourself do something and no one's around. No one that knows you, no strangers are gonna hold you accountable. I'm like, hey, you look like you should be doing something productive right now. When I tell you I've passed out in 2 different countries, Colombia and Costa Rica, both post-workout, both dehydrated, both post nicotine and weed and ingesting several, 3, 4 coffees in a row, and then you just go out to the heat thinking you just do whatever you want. When you wake up from some sand and you look down at your bag and it's wide open and it's spilled all out and people could have robbed you, and you realize these strangers could have taken advantage of your boy. Could have robbed me easily. You also realize that strangers don't care about you unless they stand to benefit in a lot of ways. Strangers don't care. It takes discipline to be successful. Most people want to be successful and they just assume it just stays that way. Like once I get a million, then I'm good. And I just no, at some point you have to fight to stay successful. It's harder than becoming successful because you have more options and more ways you can fail now. You have more drugs that you can partake in recreationally. It's easier to get. When I tell you I get my weed delivered in Guatemala and in Colombia, it's easier. It's not as easy as Florida. No, again, it's not real weed. Anyway, yeah, wisdom takes a lot of wisdom to stay successful. So yeah, you want to be aware of that. Who we got in this chat, man? Bro, I don't know if you had been already, but I just came from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And whoa, with vibes and rich culture. You need to put that country on your bucket list. So Brazil is on my list. Once I get done with Central America, which I only have Belize and Mexico left, and I have not decided if I'm actually going to go to Mexico. I probably will go. Belize is right next door, smaller country. I hear it's more expensive. We don't use words like expensive in Bitcoin economies. My life gets less expensive the longer I buy Bitcoin and the longer I hold Bitcoin. It's different. It's different. Um, yeah, Brazil's definitely. I will definitely hit Brazil. Probably after I obviously hit Argentina and Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia. I'm probably going to go down to Argentina and work my way back up towards the north. Um, and so at some point I will hit Brazil. I've heard nothing but good things about Brazil. Um, and the people thereof. And well, one thing you'll notice that traveling, it gets old very quickly. It's the people that change the experience that you have. The places aren't that different, especially as it relates to like Latin American countries. It's a lot of copy and paste. It's a lot of the same looking buildings, the same coffee, the same foods, the same kind of music, more or less, the same kind of dances, more or less. It's not too different. Salsa in Colombia is it's going to be somewhat similar to Costa Rica. The music to listen to. It's the same culture essentially. It's just different dialects. It's different fonts, if you will. And so it's the people. It's the learning the language and being able to connect with people and having the most basic of conversations. Young lady I met here in well, young Juana here in Antigua, and she spoke some of the clearest Spanish I've ever heard. The clearest Spanish, and we talked about a good 15 minutes on 2 different occasions. She was walking around selling her little things, and of course, I had to make a little plug for her. I'm like, listen, I need you to watch this video, "The Paradox of Choice." Find a Spanish version. And she was like, "Oh, apparently she can't read." And again, my Spanish is improving, ongoingly. And so I may have misunderstood her, but I think she was trying to communicate that she can't read. And so I used her phone, typed in paradox of choice, Spanish version, so she could at least, listen to the summary because she's carrying around so much stuff. I'm like, listen, you're gonna overload your customer. They've been asked 10 times today already, do they want to buy some beads or a scarf or something? Sell less things. Trying to communicate, basic principles. First of all, it's a great experiment because you have nothing to lose. You've been carrying around a ton of stuff. You got stuff in your head and hands full of stuff. I'm like, what if you just try selling less things, less options, and see how that worked? And so we had a great conversation. As best as I could communicate in Spanish, but my Spanish is getting very good to the point where I do want to finish South America just so I can get my full fluency, because it just gives you access. It gives you crazy access to a continent of people that live completely different than the way you do, and they see the world differently, and they have different experiences, and the people are different. I'm telling you, it's addicting when you discover people that aren't American like. And again, Americans aren't bad. They aren't bad. I don't dislike Americans, but I've been around Americans my whole life. I want to be around different people. And when you come down to Latin America, Central America, and people are always in good mood and they're always happy. And again, they have problems too. Like they're human, just like everyone else, but they're just different. They have different frequencies. Their nervous systems are a little more calm than Americans. I talk to Americans and I immediately feel their tightness. They're pent up. They're stressed. They're just, I'm here for 5 days. I just want to relax a little bit. I'm like, calm your bruh. No, relax. Go get you a beer, bruh. Go get you a cigarette. Relax. Go lay down. Relax. I'm telling you, you don't realize how tight your nervous system is until you get out of America and you realize there are people sleeping on the job. They're not getting fired. They're not getting rid of. It's a slower pace. It's a slower pace, and you allow yourself to just relax. There's no rush. No rush. Where are we going? And of course, it's a luxury, but it's a luxury that comes with responsibility and the requirement of discipline. What else we got down here, man? But yeah, appreciate that recommendation. I'll definitely be hitting Brazil. See what they're doing on there. I added a couple of people that teach Portuguese to my algorithm, and again, beautiful women, beautiful women. If you're going to look at them, at least learn something at the same time. It's passive. It takes no effort to observe a beautiful woman and act and hear what she's saying at the same time. You don't really have a choice. If you're if you're scrolling with the audio on, you're going to hear the Spanish or the Portuguese either way. So you might as well find a way to benefit. Like, don't just follow women that are beautiful. You'll be following millions of people. Millions of people. I talked about this previously. There is no shortage of beautiful women or people on this planet. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. You go to Colombia one time, you will never unsee that level of beauty in that concentration. It's just there. Every other woman is perfect, like model level perfect. You go to the Philippines, you go to Thailand, they're everywhere. You go to Japan, they're everywhere. Only America do we place such a high level of value on beauty when you realize it's not a scarce asset. It's not in totality. It's not in certain regions. It might be in certain towns. There might be one baddie that works at she's a waitress, at the local diner. Everyone tries to get at her, but in the world of the internet, whether there's no shortage of people or access to people. It doesn't always give you the option, but if you can learn a language, if you can learn how to communicate, you may not even need to communicate verbally. Sometimes all you need is the body language. Sometimes you don't need much else than that's all you need sometimes. Right. What, J Ray just bought some Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin evil? No, Bitcoin is like your dollar, except better. It's like gold, except better. It's like silver. It's like RAM in your laptop or your cell phone. It's a commodity. It's a tool. It's energy. It's energy. Um, when I tell you, and I've told this to countless people, and I don't. really expect people to believe me right away. Just, well, why would you listen to me? For what? For what? Oh, I'm no different than any other guy trying to sell you on some course or uh some pyramid scheme or hey, have you ever bought a timeshare? Are you interested in 3 weeks of vacation a year locked in at $2,100 monthly with some added fees and some maintenance fees, and you can't sell it ever and you can't bankrupt out of it? And you just I realize I can sound like a scammer on any level, mainly because you just don't know what I'm talking about. And there are a lot of people may have heard of Bitcoin, may be slightly or more or less, familiar with what it may or may not be. But I try to leverage my trust. People that trust me on any level, I try to leverage that into good only. In most cases, I try to leverage that into, if you trust me at all, study it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. If you trust me on any level, this random guy in the camera and this guy named Ray, whatever. I'm telling you to go study it. How many scammers tell you to go study and become informed? Which do I have to leave with that? That's why I have to leave with studying instead of buying. I'm like, well, you might miss out on some opportunities. You might miss out on some better prices. It is volatile, so you'll have opportunity to buy in low if that's what you're truly waiting on. But I want you to study it so you can know the value of Bitcoin, not the cost. The cost is what the current price is. It's probably in the mid 70s, no, right now. 75, 76,000, 77,000, whatever. That's the cost of Bitcoin. That's the cost per Bitcoin. I want you to know the value of Bitcoin. What problem is Bitcoin solving that dollars can't solve, that gold can't solve, that silver can't solve, that RAM, that oil, that corn, that soybeans can't solve, that hydropower can't solve? What is the benefit to Bitcoin in comparison to every other opportunity available to humans on planet Earth right now? Why is Bitcoin necessary in the first place? Is the question that you should be studying in terms of, why should I care about Bitcoin? How does Bitcoin benefit me at all? Does it benefit me? It's amazing technology. It's amazing technology. What else you got, man? You got any questions? Drop them down. I'll answer questions as long as we have them. If you're curious about any country I've been to, lifestyle, you know, what's there to do? Is it safe? Whatever you got. Minimalism, interesting topic. So my saving graces is, you probably got too much stuff. Anyway, um, I know it will require much planning, but do you think moving to Japan by myself would work? I'm used to being by myself nowadays, so moving away from family and friends wouldn't be an issue for me. It would definitely work, and if you don't do it before I do, I, I'll prove it. I'll prove that it works. Um, I currently sit here with zero Japanese ability to speak, or that didn't sound right. I have zero ability to speak Japanese right now. I don't know how to say hi in Spanish, and so, or Japanese rather. So, um, you can definitely travel without language, um, mainly because you have technology. As long as you're able to leverage the technology properly, you don't need language. Now, but what you would miss out in terms of language, what you miss out on by not having the ability to speak the language, is community, is being social. Not completely, but in terms of time, outside of hostels, because hostels are where you're going to meet. And again, you have to stay in hostels. If you're traveling solo, you need to be staying in hostels. I can go on a long rant. I probably will just now. Airbnbs and hotels should be off limits if you're solo traveling. Get out the hotels, get out of the Airbnbs. I'm in Airbnb today because I knew I was going to live stream today. And it's like one day a week that I stay in a Airbnb or a hotel just for a nice little reset before the week starts. But tomorrow morning, I'm going back to the hostel. Why? Because that's where all the English speakers are. That's where all the serendipity exists. That's where you get to meet people from around the world that you were never supposed to meet. Because why would you meet a random 33-year-old guy from Germany in Atlanta? I'm sure it's possible. No, I know Atlanta has hostels. I know for sure Florida has hostels. not exactly sure about Atlanta, but the point being is that if you want happy accidents, you need to be around people. You need to be around random variables that you can't fully control. I don't expect to meet anyone in this bedroom tonight. No one. Zero. None. I'm ordering my Little Caesars pizza tonight, and I'm gonna scroll until I get tired. But there's no serendipity in this room. It's like it starts with a zero. It's like 0.00012 in terms of what could possibly happy accidents happen in this room. It's probably zero. But the random invites that you get, the random dinners, the random strangers that you strike up a conversation with, and y'all talk for 2 or 3 hours, and you bare each other's soul. When I tell you the amount of vulnerability that you can be, the amount of why is language such an issue? Hmm? It's like going back and forth between Spanish and English and trying to speak correctly. Serendipity has become my favorite word since I started traveling. It's just the happy accident. It's the coincidence that is not a coincidence. There seems to be an underlying purpose behind that. I just can't understand how and or why it happened that way. It's why you have to be in hostels. In Japan, you're going to be surrounded by Japanese speakers, except for in that hostel where you're going to be around guaranteed minimum 2, 3, depending on how large the hostel is. You'll be around English speakers even then while being in Japan. It's like being in your own little embassy that is represented by all these different countries because you'll be around people from all over the world. And you'll be like, even last night, spent maybe 30, 45 minutes with some Americans from, where is she, Alabama and Louisiana. Yeah, we just had a quick little conversation, but again, it takes the pressure off because you get to release pent up stress because you will spend some time alone, and I'm sure you'll find ways to enjoy it, and you probably will enjoy it a lot more than you know maybe other people might not enjoy the loneliness or the isolation. But yeah, it's more than possible. It's more than possible. When I first started traveling, I didn't know any Spanish. Not enough to order coffee, not enough to get a haircut, not enough to function on a most basic level. Now I have full conversations in Spanish. So you will adapt, and you probably won't even realize it until you start translating for someone else, or you have a conversation that's just longer than you're used to. Like once you pass those mile markers, you start realizing I'm actually improving. My mind is doing exactly what it's designed to do: adapt, gain information through all my five senses. It's going to gain information. It's going to constantly be hearing new syllables and new verbiage and what have you, and different languages. You will eventually start picking up on stuff. And so the language allows you even more access to the environment you're in because language is like it's the only way to interact with humans, whether it be body language or verbal language. You need language. You need the ability to communicate on some level to have any level of intimacy or any level of interaction that is valuable. You can only say hi so many times and bye and thank you and please. At some point you gotta like, yo, who your people is, man? You like living in Japan, man? Are you depressed? How's your economy? I heard y'all was getting inflation now. I know y'all were stuck at zero, or like, yeah, you were deflation for most of y'all's existence, but now y'all having 1, 2, 3% inflation, man. Mm, prices going up. Value of your Japanese yens going down. You actually have conversation if you can understand each other. And so, yeah, Japan is any country is doable. Any country is doable. Any country is doable. Even as a solo traveler, when I tell you I'm so inspired by some of the people I meet, just because I'm like, if they can do it, I know I can. I know I'm required to try if they've done it. You meet those people every single day. And I don't know how they function. Like people who are disorganized, messy, clumsy, stuff everywhere, stuff scattered, high on drugs, drunk out their mind, hungover. I'm like, how are you functioning in a foreign country and you're so you? Like, how? I, I plan everything. I plan everything, and I'm trying to plan less so I can be more, spontaneity or Jesus, these words, spontaneity. Oh my goodness, I don't like losing to words. I don't like it. Anyway, yeah. Japan is more than possible. Takes a little bit of courage, some planning. Obviously, finances. You want to have redundancy. You want to have credit cards. You want to make sure your banks know you're traveling. There's so many things that I've learned over time. Um, just constantly repeating the process of backpacking, repeating the process of jumping countries, crossing borders. Obviously, different continents. Obviously, Japan's an island, so it's different variables that come with that. But yeah, it's more than possible. You just need a little courage. Also, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have YouTube, you have all these different resources of people who have done it, who are currently doing it, that will answer all the questions. Before I cross borders, I go straight to TikTok. Like before I go to Belize, Mexico, same thing I did when I crossed my first border from Costa Rica to Nicaragua. I researched it. I just watched several videos on TikTok. I'm like, all right, Costa Rica, Nicaragua border, how to cross, whatever. And they talk about if you need cash, they talk about how long it took, how long the line was, what time they got there, how long the total travel was. Like, and again, it's a lot of copy and paste. It's the same people answering the same question over and over again. Once you've watched enough of those videos, you'll feel confident to go to the border yourself, just like I did. And I'm like, all right, I've never done this before, but I'm about to figure it out. And it may be easier or more difficult than your level of preparation. It's just relative. But once you've done it once, twice, 3 times, I'm like, all right, crossing the border doesn't cause me stress anymore. The same thing applies to any island, like Japan or what have you, where there's plenty of research. There's plenty of people who have done it before you that there's really no excuse at this point. You just need to plan on some level to be prepared for the random variables that you can't prepare for. Um, when I got my debit card and my credit card stolen in Grenada, Nicaragua, I had other credit cards. Now, of course, that experience made me pay off all my credit cards because I had to use them. And then when I got my debit card replaced and they sent it to a hostel, I learned the experience. Oh, so if I lose my debit card or my credit card or someone steals my wallet or I lose my wallet or something, I can get my cards replaced while overseas in a hostel. But it took me losing my stuff to actually go through it. And of course, you don't want to learn every lesson that way. Like some lessons are inefficient. You don't want to learn everything and be experienced. It's highly inefficient. But some things you just need. Sometimes things happen. Like I try to prepare as best I can. I try to guard my stuff. I try to keep my stuff, in hindsight. But yeah, if you leave your stuff unguarded and someone steals your stuff, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. And so I've had to learn a lot of ways that yeah, overthinking things doesn't prevent tragedy, doesn't prevent crisis. Overmanagement doesn't prevent crisis. Some things you can't prepare for. But the more options you have, the more things you can encounter and still keep going, which is the whole point of wisdom, is to have so many options that you have to read the paradox of choice consistently just to kind of reduce your options down. Like when I was picking this place to go live in tonight, I'm like, I had maybe starting off around maybe 1,500 options just in terms of a one bedroom. And that's all right. Let me filter by a workspace that has a desk and it drops it down maybe to 900. And I'm like, all right, in the city, 850. All right, well, a nice garden, 800. And you're just constantly applying filters. That's the paradox of choice at work. It's the problem with dating. Women have too many options. I didn't realize what it was like to have too many options in dating until I moved overseas. You don't realize your value until you change environments. The same analogy applies to water bottles. The bottle of water in the desert is worth a different amount than on a plane, than an airport, than in a convenience store. The context matters. I left these states with maybe 20, 30 matches, in terms of just people that I got to reach out to or that they're waiting for a reply or something, to 99 plus consistently. Consistent, like just 99, like it's too much. It's crippling. I don't want to say good afternoon to 100 plus people. And then you got to remember what we was talking about. It's a lot. And so now I stick to just meeting people in person now. It's just much easier to talk to people in the hostels, people that I'm in the same space with, people that are doing the same activities that I'm doing. They're all, we're here for differing amounts of time, but yeah, the paradox of choice is highly interesting. But I strongly encourage you, well, whatever you think you can't do, there's someone who's already did it, and it's probably normal to them at this point. When I imagine myself traveling and like just exploring the world, I didn't realize it would be this easy. And it wasn't easy at first. I was scared, like pussy, like fearful because I was trying to control every variable I could think of. Like, how do I plan for this? And what about this? Sometimes you just gotta go. Sometimes you just gotta go. But again, your mind needs training data. Anxiety is just a lack of data. You feel anxiety because your mind would want to be a little bit more prepared. Every time I felt anxiety, it's a lack of data. It's a misinterpretation of data. Yeah, which is why you need a regulated nervous system. And sometimes you just need more information. You need more preparation to relieve that anxiety. Sometimes you haven't given yourself enough time to prepare that you need. I might need 10, 20 minutes of just on the toilet research. Some people might need days, weeks to wrap their head around going to a different country and living in different spaces. Yeah, you got to learn how your mind retains information, how your body works, how your mind works, and then apply your resources. What else we got? What qualities do you look for in potential friends? That's a good question. Um, I like smart people. I truly enjoy smart people, mainly so I can pick their brain because I'm selfish in that way. I'm like, what do you know that I need to know? Um, the big ones, the big pillars of any friend would be, and starts with loyalty. And the issue with loyalty is that everyone has a price, and a lot of people would lie in your face and say, "Oh no, no, if I'm a friend to someone, I'm loyal to them 1,000." It's a lie. It's a lie. And none of us wants to believe that our friends would betray us, that our friends would turn their back on us, that our friends would do something that benefits them and not us. And therefore we feel a certain type of way because they chose themselves over us. It's normal. And the quicker you accept it, the quicker that you can actually have friendships and relationships. Um, The value like, I only have one best friend, sadly, because of my own doing. I used to have 2 best friends named Mike. Now I have 1 because of something I did. And yeah, you fuck up, sometimes, you just kinda expect people to, "Oh, yeah, they'll forgive me." And some people, it's the last straw. Sometimes you don't get to come back from a mistake. And so, yeah, friendships are valuable in that way where you only have but a handful in a given lifetime, and they must be managed. Just like money, just like time, energy, your relationships have to be managed. But yeah, loyalty in terms of accountability is what I value the most. Accountability. If the bridge is out, will you tell me? Great question. Do I believe in Jesus Christ? I do. Here's an issue with that question, and it's not an issue with you or the question itself, really. Um, the question should be, do I know Jesus Christ? It's a better question. Um, And so if I was going to answer that question truthfully, the answer is no. I believe in Jesus Christ. I can't say I know him. I'm not saying I'm not trying to know him. Like I'm actively trying to know him, um, but I don't. I don't. There's the principles of Jesus, like the principles. Sow a seed and you get a harvest later. Give and it should be given to you. But those are principles. The wisdom of Jesus Christ, the wisdom of the Bible, and then there's the person of Jesus Christ. It's like, L you guys are watching me. You believe in me. You probably think I'm a real person, I'm not AI, but you don't know me. You don't know me. It's the difference. So, do you believe in Raymond Isaiah or do you know Raymond Isaiah? 2 different questions, and obviously, just expanding upon yours, but my ultimate goal is to know Jesus Christ. Um, Not just believe that he was a real person historically, not that he lived and was documented and that he died and it was documented and he rose from the dead and it was documented. I don't want him to be a historical figure for when I think of him. I want him to be a relationship, relationship. And there's a great benefit to being isolated and to being in the mountains and being in a foreign country, being in a land where no one knows you and it's just you and God all day. There's a strong benefit to that because you will quickly realize what is valuable in terms of relationships. And it's not always physical presence. Like I don't have any physical friends, like humans with me. It's me. I spend most of my days alone, surrounded by strangers. And of course, we have small talk and you have interactions, and you meet somebody, and you instant click, and then you guys go hang out for a little bit. And then they go back to their country. You keep going, whatever. It's different. It's different. But yeah, you will quickly encounter God when He isolates you, when you're in the wilderness of sorts, and there's not a lot of familiarity. The first thing you will turn back to is there a God? Is there? What does He want from me? Where is He at? You know, the- Plenty of questions to go around in terms of the experience of Jesus Christ and whether or not you know Him versus believing in Him. But my ultimate goal personally is to know Him and to exist in fellowship with Him. And I know He's with me already. I mean, His grace and mercy is why I'm able to function on any level. And when I tell you I am grateful to Him, I'm truly grateful for the opportunity He's given me every single day. And trust me, it's why I have the reminders. It's why I have Joe. Is the constant reminders of like you have to be present because you hedonic treadmill is so sneaky that you will forget that you're in a foreign. Like you get used to how good your life is. You get used to how bad your life is. It's just perspective. There's also a hedonic treadmill. You get used to it. I've lived in Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Colombia, Dominican Republic for extended amounts of time. The UAE, United Arab Emirates. I lived in Abu Dhabi for extended amount of time. Like like when you're living there, you forget. this is not this is not normal. I'm not vacationing. I live here. I live here, which means you sometimes forget to take advantage of the opportunity you have. You sometimes forget that, yeah, I'm a stranger here. I'm the outlier. I'm the random black guy in this coffee shop, statistically, you know. So you constantly have to kind of. That's why I had the reminders because when you're isolated, you're gonna need the right voice in your head. And I'm telling you, temptation will find you. It only takes once to ruin the whole show. It only takes once to ruin everything. Now you were having so much fun, Ray, and then you lost focus and you met old girl, and then I'm telling you, it's not easy to walk away either. Like there's those levels of strength that you don't even realize you have until you have to use it, and you're glad it's there. You're glad it's there, and of course, God's grace and mercy. God's grace and mercy. Like there's only so much wisdom to go around before you actually have to stop and just thank God for keeping you and protecting you and yeah, I'm grateful. I am grateful. Mystery man's blessing me, you understand? Can you be truly minimalist in a world built on consumption? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm actually planning more or less to do what's in my bag or what's in my duffel bag. What do I travel with? I have a little shoulder bag that I carry around every day, like wherever I go, which contains 99% of everything I own. Is my carry bag. Sits on my shoulder. If you see me without it, something went wrong. Like I take it everywhere. It has everything from my passport, my wallet, key, like whatever I'm carrying, it's in that bag. I have my duffel bag that carries clothing, what have you. And even then, it's only like this outfit times two. So, but yeah, minimalism is peaceful. You don't miss much because you're still carrying things you need. Minimalism is not carrying nothing. Minimalism or essentialism is carrying what you need, what solves problems, what you actively use, which means it's not a lot of things that you actually need on a day to day basis. I have a charger. I actually have most things laid out. The most of what I carry is drawers. Like I carry like seven, 8 pairs of drawers because it's high turnover. But outside of that, a laptop, lotion, it's not a lot of stuff. And it's peaceful that way because I switch houses almost daily. The number one expense that you will spend moving around a lot is energy, personal bodily energy. When the thought of switching hostels, the thought of switching Airbnbs, switching hotels, if the first thought is, I don't want to carry all this stuff around, you got too much stuff. You got too much stuff. It takes me all of 30 seconds to pack up everything I own, which is traveling with me. Everything I own is with me. I don't have any storage lockers full of just stuff, and then I got my extra storage, and I got some boxes over here with some knickknacks and what have you. Everything I own is with me. It's so peaceful. One of the issues that comes with owning a lot of stuff is storage and security of that stuff. It's why people that live in gated communities, they live very stressful lives dealing with HOAs, trying to protect stuff, trying to protect stuff. The doors down here don't lock. There are a lot of, I don't want to be hyperbolic. People lock their doors, but in most cases, you can walk to just by any door, and it's probably going to be unlocked because they're not protecting nothing. They don't got 10 flat screens in one house. It's probably a bunch of cell phones that are probably outdated that the average person wouldn't want from America. Like you're probably gonna see their Samsung or LG or you know knockoffs, what have you. No, in most cases, no. You have way more than the people that you're around, so you're probably not gonna be robbing them. But they're not sitting there stressing over whether or not you're gonna steal their pee bucket. Or it's peaceful not having a lot of stuff. It's peaceful. It's just about understanding what do I need to function. Like personally, I need lotion. I need blue bottle lotion just so I can be at peace. I can't have dry hands. I wash my hands a lot because I don't want to get sick because I'm drinking tap water. I've been drinking tap water. I will report this. I've only got sick in one location and I believe it's from the tap water. I've only got sick in one location, and that's Lake Atalan, Guatemala. It's like an hour from here, hour and a half, 2 hours from Antigua, Guatemala. I've been there two separate times. Once was about a year ago during the Super Bowl. I watched a little BTA from the Eagles give the Chiefs a little bit of something, and then recently during Easter, uh, most of the population of Guatemala descended on Antigua, Guatemala, and just overflooded the city. And so I'm like, the prices went up, and there was just too many people here. And so I'm like, all right, let me get out, go to a neighboring town, what have you. And so that's where I went. And again, both times. First time I got strep throat. Second time, that's how I threw up on my clothes. Just no. So be careful with tap water. I think there's a conspiracy personally that bottled water is not good for you. I think tap water is good for you. If you were stranded in the middle of nowhere, you would try to find moving water. Moving water. That's all you need because the sediments settle themselves in moving water, which makes me wonder what makes bottled water cleaner. It's taken from the river. So you're saying I could just make my own bottled water by making the water move and then just collecting it. I've been drinking tap water in third world countries for over a year. Think about that. Colombian tap water, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, Dominican Republic, tap water, Nicaragua, tap water, El Salvador, tap water. I'm not getting sick. I got sick at one lake. One lake. Somebody lying. Somebody lying. I'm telling you, you will lose weight overseas. There's no there's no poison in the food over here. I got me some fancy. So I've been fasting all day, which is probably another reason I don't get sick is I fast every day. Usually eat like one meal a day at night. But yeah, we got Yeah, we got two of these. Bought these from a little street vendor. It was like 10 casales. I don't know how much that is, but it's maybe a dollar, less than a dollar. Um, never had it before, but the fact that the trees down here grow flowers, they grow fruit, and it's edible, it's not poisonous. I'm like, somebody is lying. Like, how have I never eaten an apple off of a tree in America in my entire life? Never. The second I go to third world countries, all the food's free again. It just grows. I'm telling you, once you've lived outside the U.S. long enough, you can't unsee that. You can't see it. It's just right. It's glaring. Mm-mm. What else we got? J Ray says, I've been through that wilderness and isolation when I was stationed in Lajes. Hmm. Where's that at? It was just me and God. Trust me, bro. He's with you and he hears you. That's facts, man. That's facts. Basic training, I felt probably the closest to God I've ever felt. Basic training because I didn't have social media to be distracting. I couldn't just take naps and I couldn't distract myself. It was just you and your bed locker. You're just sitting there and you're just bored and it's Sunday and you waiting for Monday to come and you just got hours to burn. All you have to do is talk to God. Obviously, you got your bunkmates, what have you, your flight. But yeah, about the emotional things, about the fearful things, about the anxiety based thinking. All you have is God, and you'll realize quickly. You know, I'd much rather come to God when I don't have to, than to constantly have to wait to be in those positions where I'm just destitute. Like all I have is God. You want to. That's why the Bible says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God." It doesn't say only seek God. It says seek Him first, which means you can still take a nap, you can still eat cleanly, you can still go sit in the sauna, you go get a massage. There's multiple ways to handle stress and worries and what have you. But faith should be your first option. Talk to God first. Talk to God. Ask Him what He thinks first, and then after you've talked to Him and got an answer, then you can go apply your works to things you know to be beneficial to you. So that's a great point, my guy. Appreciate you. Where is Lajes, by the way? Oh, Air Force Base in the Azores in Portugal. I've heard about that base. Have we talked before, man? Somebody told me about that. Maybe I think it was a flight line in Lajes, Portugal. I'll be out there soon. I've heard good things about Portugal, the surfing, what have you. And so I'll definitely be making my way in that direction. Spain, definitely. Europe as a whole. I mean, Amsterdam. I will be ingesting quality levels of reefer in Amsterdam. And so I definitely look forward to that. What else we got? Angel says, I hope all is well. Best wishes. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All is well. Can't and won't complain. You understand? Mr. Piggy says, don't you miss the military? Not at all. Not even a little. Not even a little. Not even a little. Not even a little. Nothing. That I can't think of anything at all. No. Great experience, necessary. Um, necessary. Why is this portrait mode on? Hmm. Anyway, but no, the Air Force was necessary. Oh, they yeah. Interesting. Oh, portrait. What? Oh, this is fancy, man. Get distracted by stuff. This is tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. Anyway, but yeah, I don't miss the military at all. Um, it's like, do you miss working at McDonald's? Do you miss working at Walmart? Like, no, no. They were necessary stages in my life, but nah, not at all. I'm grateful for where I'm at right now and everything that took for me to get here because it prepared me for where I'm at right now. So much of the military. it's like living outside the US. It's so much like the places that you sleep in hostels, it's like a deployment. It's almost it's so similar, and so, yeah, I'm grateful for the experience, but no, I do not miss it at all. J. Ray says, "My favorite book in the Bible is the book of Job. When a man's faith is tested and he loses it all, trusting God will bless you tenfold, and he hears your cry. Blessed be the name of the Lord." When I tell you, I beg God, please don't test me. please don't, please don't test me what happened with Job, man. Um, I would like to think that I will be as strong as Job was, and as faithful as Job was. I just don't like Job was tested, truly tested. That's why God was able to brag about him. Like God had that much confidence in him, just in terms of his faithfulness and his faith. And of course, I would love to think that my faith is strong, but faith has to be tested. faith has to be tested. And of course, God, his intent is not to hurt us, it's to develop us, it's to grow us. It's like going to the gym and breaking your arm. I'm like, no, you're not going to the gym just to be reckless. You're going to control the weight. And so when God gives us trials and tests us, it's so we can control the weight. It's not for us to break our arm. Like breaking an arm is counterproductive. Like why would God test us with something that is destructive in nature? Like no, it's supposed to be anti-fragile using wisdom, of course. That's why he said wisdom is the principal thing. He didn't say faith is. That there's a reason for that. Like God's not illiterate. God told us very clearly, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and all you're get an understanding. And then, of course, wisdom pairs perfectly with faith. It pairs perfectly. Like wisdom goes with everything. So, yeah. Shout out to Joe. Brett lost everything. Mr. Piggy says, I still miss what I like to call organic meat. I swear a T-bone steak actually real outside the US. I love steak. I'm more of a ribeye person myself. Um, there will be so many foods that you encounter overseas that will change how you view how you view foods in general. For me, it's the junk food. It's the fact that if I go to find junk food locally, I will struggle to find anything that tastes as good as U.S. junk food, which tells me they're putting something in the food that makes it taste better. Like we have some of the best chemistry chefs in the world in terms of the US, because I'm like, how is the food so differently tasting? And it's the same food. Domino's and Pizza Hut doesn't taste the same in South America as it does in the US. I don't know why. It's the same pizza. Like, well, what is that? So yeah, steak. When I going to Argentina, that's the number one thing on my list. Is I've heard nothing but crazy, amazing things about their steak down there. And so I definitely plan on partaking and receiving thereby and thereof and what have you. Lies, Air Force, we talked about that. Hmm. It's a tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I thought it was in Europe. American geographic ignorance. We shall never beat the allegation. When you look at it, you're like, what is this place? Yeah, I never heard of it. Hmm. Mystery Man says, how do you define a winner and a loser in this world? Interesting question. How do you define a winner and a loser in this world? In a singular word, I would say salvation. Um, One thing I personally get distracted by is stuff, achievements, position, prestige, income, investments, uh, winning and losing. Um, and very quickly, you constantly have to remind yourself, what is the profit of man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I was talking to a guy, one of these hostels. I believe was he German? I don't know. But we started talking about religion and God and does God exist and all these things. And of course, the main argument that I went towards was the morality argument. because we have legal laws, we have lawyers and judges and legislators that create the laws that tell us what is legal and illegal. The question is, who wrote the moral law that tells us what is moral and immoral? Who wrote the ethical law that tells us what is ethical and unethical? Is no one in charge? Moral relativity is where everyone decides for themselves what they think is right or wrong. The issue arises where I think it's okay to kill someone for whatever reason. It could be Hitler's reasoning, it could be the military's reasoning, it could be defense, self defense reasoning, it could be protecting my mother, my family member reasoning, and you could think it's wrong for any reason to kill, for any reason. The issue is that we both can't be right because they're opposing arguments. I'm saying one, you're saying zero. The light can't be on and off at the same time. It's like the cat in the cage. I'm like, before you look, is the cat dead or alive? No. Some arguments have to have an answer. Is it right to kill or is it wrong to kill? And we all want an answer to this because it affects all of us. Notice how every religion in the history of mankind includes violence. Why? Because if yours doesn't include violence, you get killed by the people whose religion has violence. History is written by the victors. It's unfortunate. That's why you can't believe all of history just because, yeah, it was written by the people who were doing the killing. You trust them to tell the truth as well? Hmm. Back to your original question. Um, Winning and losing has to do with what happens after you leave this world. Because again, we get so caught up in our day to day, including myself, we get so caught up in everyday life and how, all right, did I eat healthy today? And did I work out today? And did I make any money? Did I lose money? Did I invest properly? Did I take care of my responsibilities? Did I pay my bills? Did I pay my taxes? We get so caught up in our day to day achievements and day to day failures and day to day rejections and day to day what have you that we forget the ultimate purpose of our being here. And it's not up to us. We didn't create ourselves. Our creator probably has something for us to do, probably has a will for us to do. And it's not always apparent what we're supposed to be doing, which is why you have to seek out God. You have to go in pursuit of him and his will for our lives. Um, because ultimately that's why we're here. The experience of being a human is a privilege, but there's still a responsibility that comes with being a human. And we can't overlook that. And so day to day winning and losing for me is wise decisions versus unwise decision and the ratio between the two. How many wise decisions do you make in comparison to how many unwise decisions do you make? That's what I would measure in terms of a day to day winner versus a loser. Is did you make more wise decisions than you didn't? Simple as that. But ultimately, in terms of life, uh, do you know why you're here? Who do you know, or are you aware of your creator? Um, yeah, there are much bigger things to measure in terms of your soul because the soul probably gets the least amount of attention as it relates to a human's makeup. We give our mind the most, man, because our mind runs 24/7. It's passive most of the time. Um, our body gets kind of the secondary treatment. I'll feed you a little broccoli. Now I get you some vegetables. Get you some quality protein, but my mind's gonna get the chemicals and the energy drinks and the reefer and what have you and the nicotine. You're gonna give your mind what it wants first. Your body kind of secondarily. Your spirit might get some leftover. You might get some music in, but your soul just kind of gets ignored, ignored for the most part. And so um, we have to learn to explain or at least come to understand why we have a soul to begin with and what's the purpose of that soul. Is it just there for looks, or is there a true underlying function that we've been ignoring for most of our existence? And so I truly believe that there is a God because there has to be one. Logically, there has to be. Like, if there's no God, we can't argue that anything that is or should be wrong is wrong. There's no argument for that if there's no God. If it's just opposing arguments, humans tend to fall into one or two camps, yes or no. On the simplest and most difficult of questions, They're usually yes or no questions, and humans automatically fall into one of the two camps: yes or no, wrong or right, I, nay. Two options. The question is, who breaks the tie? What is the truth? Is it wrong to kill people or not? Who makes that ultimate conclusion? I would argue in legality, the judge interprets the law, of course, and the lawyers make arguments, what have you. But the legislators write the law, the lawyers argue the law, and the judge gives a verdict. He enforces the law. I believe that in morality, it's the same thing. Now, it's different actors, but I believe that the moral law is just as enforceable as legal law, if not more so. And you want to make sure you're on the right side of who's deciding. Like it's best to be on the judge's good side, meaning you're on the right side of the law as best you can. Which, and thankfully, we're under grace, where we're not held to a standard of being under the Ten Commandments, which was the original law. We're under grace now. Thanks to the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross, we're under grace now. And it's not to be abused; it's to be aware and to practice behaving as Jesus did, which was the level of perfection that humans don't have access to. But that's not the point. The point is to be aware that there's a standard that we all fall short of, and that only that standard should be enforced. And of course, who makes that standard? Of course, God, because it's not a human. It can't be a human. Anyway, um, I feel better. I feel better. Um, just letting out, just letting it all out. I'm going to bed. I'm going to enjoy my evening. Um, I appreciate everybody who came through, everybody who asked questions, everyone who interacted with your boy. Um, I truly appreciate it. Um, one last question from Mystery Man. What are your thoughts on global population decline? Hmm, I like this question. Well, I think it's engineered. You'll notice if you watch me for any amount of time, I'm not a huge believer in coincidence or chance or things just kind of happen. No, I think it's a side effect. It's a side effect. There's a reason why the poorest countries aren't dealing with declining birth rates in the same way that the rich countries are. There's a reason for that. I would argue it's the paradox of choice. If there's less to do, you probably hold humans in a higher regard. The value of humans has dropped crazily and immensely in the United States, in Western countries in general. The value for humans. Like in most cases, if you ask the average human, would you choose a stranger that's a human? Would you choose their life or your cat's life or your dog's life? I would argue cats and dogs would win in the majority of cases over a random stranger human. It's unfortunate. And of course, there's consequences to belief systems and how we interpret the value of human life. I mean, large language models are struggling with the same thing. If you go to ChatGPT and ask them, uh, is it wrong to misgender someone or is it wrong? Like, you'd be surprised some of the answers you get from, again, these large language models are being coded by engineers, by humans. And so you can always trace it back to a human and a false belief system. But there's a reason why Grok and X by Elon, he's trying to enforce a level of value to humans, even through the large language models, to enforce a certain value that humans must be ranked higher than dogs or random, stuff. It's unfortunate, but if you look closely enough, everything's connected. Everything's connected. It goes all the way back to the money. It goes all the way back to the money. Humans will not think about having children if they can barely feed themselves, if they can barely pay rent. And Americans are just starting to feel the squeeze that the rest of the world has been feeling for most of their existence, because monetary inflation is not a new occurrence. It's not new. It's been happening repeatedly for centuries. You go to war, you inflate your currency because you need more of it to make more artillery. And again, it's a modern analogy. The point being is that the money is broken. I would argue that population decline on any level is attached to the money. I would argue the higher, what's it, inverse correlation? As the money gets inflated, meaning the more they print money, the lower the population will decrease, or the more population will decrease. That's my argument. It's all connected to money and currency, fiat currency. I always ask myself, Ray, if money was not an issue, how many children would you want? Notice how some of the best questions start with if money wasn't an issue. I think that I think we're going past that too quickly. I'm like, why is money an issue? Not for rich people, not for poor people. Why is money an issue for most people? Why is it a common source of pain for most people? A common source of issue, of anguish, of stress, of friction. Why is that consistently a thing? If money weren't an issue, what would you do with your day? If money weren't an issue, who would you marry? How many kids would you have? Where would you live? How would you spend your time? It's the money, and we live in a money, the world's greatest money printer. I'm telling you, you would not want to get paid in Colombian pesos. You would not want to get paid in colones. You would not want to get paid in quetzales. I'm telling you, you want to get paid technically. In reality, you want to get paid in Bitcoin. But the next best option is, well, technically gold. And then beyond that, the dollar. Prostitution is only alive because there's a gradient of currency. I'm telling you, money controls way more than you think it does. Money is not a measure of anything but energy. It's a measure of energy and human behavior. It's layered, but yeah. If you want to fix, here's my suggestion. If you want to fix declining birth rates, hmm, obviously I will start with a treasury asset such as Bitcoin, so a scarce desirable asset capital upon which you can build your currency on, where it increases in value over time because of its scarcity, and therefore the dollars don't. They actually you get more for the cost of your capital, relatively. If you can afford to do most things, you will do them. Like there's a reason why if people can't afford to have children, they just won't have children. And of course, the question is why the poor people still having children? Ignorance. They're bored. Paradox of choice. The same reason why there's not a declining birth rate in India is because if you're bored enough, if you're poor enough, what's the best activity you can do that you will never get bored of? Humans. That's why the meaning of life is humans, because you can't get bored of humans. You might get bored of personalities or certain. No, if you change the variables, the personality shows up differently. You change the settings around a certain mind, and the personality shows and manifests itself differently based on the variables around it. So yeah, declining birth rate, it's not a problem, it's a symptom of a problem. It's a symptom. Most problems in today's world, they're symptoms. If you look closely enough and you start piecing together all the different variables, you realize it's probably money. Money is probably if you will fix 99% of the world's problems if you fix the money. Meaning it needs to be hard money, scarce. You can't just keep printing money out of thin air. Yeah, everything you experience on a daily basis is a symptom of the currency in which you live in. So, yeah, it's an ongoing issue. Until people wake up to Bitcoin, I mean, I can only save myself. I can save me and my family. That's it. You can preach it all night long, but listen, if you look at my Twitter, the pinned tweet or twin X, whatever it is, the pinned tweet on my X account is a Bitcoin Noah's Ark. I'm like, listen, I tell people so I can sleep at night. I tell y'all, the 5 people, the 7, 8 people that come watch, I think we had max of 10 people watching, which again, I'm grateful. I tell y'all so I can sleep at night. I'm like, "Hey, you probably watch this channel because you appreciate wisdom and advantages that comes with it. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I'm telling you to go study it because on this channel we study, we learn, we read, we understand, we get insights, we get advantages because we're doing what most people aren't doing. The boring things, the things that no one else wants to study. It's not entertaining. It's not Love Is Blind. It's not The Bachelor. It's not all these. It's not entertainment. It's proof of work cryptography, ASIC miners, and what have you, and water cooling. Yeah, most people don't want to care about it. Most people don't have a need to care about it, but it's unfortunate. We all make decisions, and hopefully, our exposure, based off our goals, enlightens us that there's usually a better answer than what we currently have. And of course, wisdom is the pursuit of that knowledge and information. So, last comment, and then we'll call it a night. I would choose my dog, but not a random dog. At least I don't have to clean a person's poop. See, this is the problem we're having in society. People are choosing dogs, animals. I appreciate everybody that came through, everybody watched, everybody that commented and left comments or questions or insights, what have you. I'm grateful. Say what's good to your boy. I'll see y'all in the next stream.